All right, so welcome to the spoiler talk of things. So, one of the biggest points right now in this first half of the show is, of course, the whole sort of fight between Mark and Cecil. There's been this kind of clash, right, of being the good guy versus the guy who actually wants to save the world, right? Because, Cecil, obviously, he picked up these people, right, and has them added to his roster to help him, well, protect the world. But these people in the past have been murderers. Um, we had the doctor who made the Animen, right? I think they're called. Basically taking dead soldiers and dead people and turn them into these like somehow stronger monsters, right? Cyborg monsters that actually can take on people like Nolan even, and of course Invincible, which is kind of weird if you ask me, but hey, it's a cartoon, so take it for what it is. Um, but the what do you call it? The Darkwing 2 or Darkwing the Second is also the other person that Cecil recruited, but not before giving them a psychological sort of bathing, if you will, cleanse their psyche or whatever, the mental, right, to essentially reprogram them to do their bidding, to work for them, right, in order to help, essentially protect the world. And but again, the catch is that they were murderers. They did that bad things, extremely bad things, and Mark doesn't like that. But remember when I said that there was hypocrisy and stuff like that? Well, Mark is definitely having double standards because, well, um, Mark kind of like sees his dad as, well, he's willing to give him some more room, right? But yet, he's giving all this shit towards Cecil, right? Why can't he have that room as well, right? Mark just has Mark is still he's still 19 years old, so he's definitely very young still himself. And there's also another character who has inexperience, which is of course Oliver. Oliver has developed powers a lot faster than Mark, probably thanks to the Thraxin, I think it is, his Thraxin side, right, of being able to mature or grow fast, but still have that the Viltrumite structure, right? So meaning he won't die so fast, right? Just like those Thraxins or whatever you call them, Flaxins or Thraxins. It's the bugs, and because they age so fast, so um, it kind of essentially Oliver has the combinations of the both good sides of those qualities, right? Those genetic qualities, right? Oliver can mature real fast, but he also can last long because, in age, of course, he can um, not just die from aging, thanks to the Viltrumite genetics. So, but of course, that also comes with the ability to rip people apart as a Viltrumite half. And Oliver has yet to sort of see why you can't kill people. There's a point where in the show, he wanted to help Mark, and in his eyes, he helped save Mark, but in the process, he kills the Mauler twins, seemingly at least. There always could be another Mauler out there, right, as a backup, just like another character who can do that at free will, right? Anyways, Oliver kills the Mauler twins, right? Especially when one of them was surrendering, and the rest of the Guardians were just like, "Whoa!" Right? Invincible, kind of tries to make him understand or help him understand, but Oliver is very conflicted. I mean, he's a kid, obviously, so he doesn't know a whole lot. He's just maturing so fast, and of course, he has Viltrumite powers. So that combination is such a dangerous thing, which is why I keep saying, like, this show really shows a lot of things, right? That's why this show is very satiating, right? Because it really does tackle those situations. It really does feel organic in that sense. What happens when a kid has these powers, right? And you have to somehow teach them to not kill so easily, right? Or so quickly, because obviously there are people that are loved, right? So you can't just like take away their life because you just don't know them, or just because you really don't see them, and you're not familiar with them, like like his own family or whatever. It's not right to just take away their life that quickly. you know there's always that chance where they can redeem themselves, and that's why it kind of like circles back to Mark, right? He just sees it one way, right? Like, oh, a murderer will always be a murderer, kind of thing. But sometimes bad guys can redeem themselves, and sometimes good guys can turn bad, right? And look what's happening with Mark, right? Like, there was that whole thing with a lot of the dimensions of Mark, thanks to Angstrom Levy, right? Showing us all the different Marks. Most of them have turned evil, though ironically, right? The one Mark that he was able to encounter that was actually good, he just harasses him, right? And then of course Mark turns on him and kills him himself. Well, by accident, he didn't mean to, unintentionally, or whatever, but nonetheless, right? And now we're back to here. Debbie helps as his stepmom, try to help him understand why doing that isn't right. Right? You can't just take away life. You have the power to do so, yes, but you have to see why that's not right. So that's why they try to have the moral code of we don't kill, but there are going to be moments where, well, that's going to happen because sometimes you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Well, when it comes to an omelet, you have to break those eggs, right? But if you're gonna make a meal with eggs, or how else, right? Anyway, sometimes you gotta have to get your hands dirty to, well, save the world. It just isn't so simple, which is why Mark kind of needs to also know these things as well. We see that Cecil was trying to be that person as well. What Mark was, or is right now, excuse me. He tried to be the good guy, but then the previous director essentially told him, "You can be the good guy, or be the guy that saves the world," right? Pretty much that. And I think that's a pretty good quote, right? As simple as it kind of sounds, and within this context. Like I said, gotta break a few eggs, right? Hey, I mean, sometimes, hey, can you make a cake without eggs? Sure. But sometimes you kind of want a cake where you do have to break a few eggs. And sometimes that's okay, right? As long as, well, your family is saved, or, whatever it is. It really comes down to it, gotta make that decision. But I think it definitely still raises interesting things, right, from that whole situation. Now, yes, you had that whole thing with Cecil and Mark going at it, and then you had even a debate or whatever with within the Guardians of the Globe. Um, they split up, almost half and half. I think there were more people who left versus who stayed. Shape Smith stayed because, well, he feels like he owes to Cecil. He gave him a home. He gave him a second chance. I mean, Shape Smith did commit a pretty serious crime, right? Of impersonating a very important person, right? An astronaut, right? And yet he still is able to sleep in a bed, a race car bed, according to Smith, and he can be a hero, help save people and such, right? He has a home, all in all. So he feels like he has to owe to him, and then you have Black Adam, and then you have Immortal, of course, and you have Duplicate. Speaking of Duplicate, there was that scene within that debate, right? Yes, Duplicate. People know she's back, right? Duplicate previously was thought to be dead, but she always, well, it was kind of obvious, like, if you can clone yourself that many times in that succession, in that fashion, of course you're gonna have multiple copies somewhere. Is also, so of course, if she's going to have that one central copy out in the woods somewhere, where people don't really need to or can touch you or anything like that, or as long as they don't know where you are. She, while arguing with Shrinking Ray, right? Because Shrinking Ray almost died herself, and of course she doesn't have the ability to come back through those means. She only has one chance to live, right? But then Kate is like, oh, I died multiple times. I suffered this and this and that. And so therefore, and it's just like, all right, even Rex came in and is like, no, that's taking it too far. No, right? And Rex is another person that's like, that's like one of the last people you think that would do that. Because, initially Rex was like that asshole, the douche, but Rex was aware of that. He was super self-aware and it strives to improve himself, and he continues to doing so. While still is Rex, he is like very, vividly trying to change for pretty much the people around him, right? And for himself, of course. And meanwhile, he has his robot arm cannon thing. But overall, they were arguing because what Cecil was doing to Mark, and to be fair, Mark marched in and, well, he was threatening him, right? So it's not like Cecil is a complete villain. He had a reason, but Mark also has a reason of himself, or for himself. There's a lot of deception. So yeah, I mean, of course, that's where the clash comes in, right? And the Guardians were just like, well, especially with Monster Girl, what do you think? Like, of course, like, this is also possible for us. Like, if he's gonna do that to Mark, what makes you think he's not gonna do that to everyone else in the globe, right? Or the Guardians of the Globe? Especially with Mark being a Viltrumite, he's super strong and all that stuff. And yet Cecil did that to him, right? With the sound thing in his head. So of course he's gonna able to do something like that to the rest of the Guardians, where, well, yeah, they're a little weaker than Mark, right? So they come to this sort of impasse, and essentially half of them left, a little more than half left. So they split up. And there is a bit of foreshadowing going on with Immortal saying like, oh, they'll be back or whatever. After Black Adam was like, hey, are you sure about this? Immortal is also has always been just like, man, he's like, a self, like, absorbent prick, right? But, you know, he's lived 1,000 years at least. He's, well, the immortal. So it is, I guess, fair. And that's why he and Kate kind of work, because of the things that they went through. They're very similar in that sense, and so they kind of come out very, I don't know, jaded, or they just have this perspective, right? Coming from having to die that many times, it does that to people. Again, that's why a lot of these moral compasses it goes all around, right? I want to hear comments about that. Like, what do you guys think about that whole scene? Like, is Duplicate right, or was she wrong to say those things, right? Like, yeah, yes, you have died that many times, but remember, they only have one chance. So that's, take that as you will, I guess. But that's still, it kind of makes her kind of an asshole, look like an asshole. Anyway, the other thing, let me see. Well, I mean, of course, there's the stuff that's been going on with, well, Nolan as well, right? He's really kind of like starting to come to terms of him being a little different from your typical Viltrumite. As we all know, Mark actually misses his wife, which is kind of a first for a lot of Viltrumites. They don't have these sort of set of emotions. And that's why a lot of the Viltrumites are like, hey, what's going on with you? Are you ill? Like, are you crazy? Like, especially with Nolan having to bear children with people of different races or alien races, right? Humans and Thraxans or whatever, right? The bugs. And the Viltrumites are just like, ugh, disgusting, And, Nolan is having this sort of rough start with Alan Alien, and of course, Alan is the one trying to initiate these things, right? He tried to start a friendship with Nolan, and in the end, it's paying off. They were able to defeat at least one of the Viltrumites that was going to execute Nolan. Meanwhile, we had Battle Beast coming in, and it's really funny. He's really cool. He's really funny in his own right, and he's pretty badass, right? He's very like over dramatic. He is like, this party you speak of, will there be worthy opponents? How many Viltrumites? It's just so funny when he talks, right? It's just it was a great time for that episode. But then, of course, the big reveal by the end, of course, is that there's only about 50-ish pure blood Viltrumites left. Take that as you will, because it's just pure bloods. How many of the hybrids have they actually kept and made them loyal to the Viltrumite Empire? Who knows? They say, oh, these disgusting creatures, or they try to eliminate all the hybrids, right? Whenever that happens, especially with Oliver. But you just never know, right? Because Krieg, right, the guy with the missing eye or whatever, accepted Mark and sees if he can fulfill the mission, right? So it's a little weird. It's kind of like, what are your standards? Why did you keep Mark? Besides plot convenience, it's, well, I guess the bugs, they're really disgusting in their eyes, so maybe that's why. And maybe sees humans a little more tolerable because they look like them, I guess. Maybe that's the reason why, maybe. Anyway. So the Viltrumites, right? having to be very prideful. And who knows how there's only 50 of them left. Is it because of the Great Civil War that tore them apart and only the few but strong, really strong Viltrumites remain? That's what made them dwindle down to 50? Or is it just the fact that, well, in that vast universe, there's more than just Viltrumites that can fight. You know, you got battle beasts, you got people that could be out there, possibly be stronger than Viltrumites. Who knows, right? Who knows? That would be able to rip them apart so easily. And that could be a hint from Nolan's book, right? Because one of Nolan's books, he hints pretty much that he's seen or experienced Viltrumites just get torn apart so easily, right? By some alien creature. There's a guy with a gun that can shoot anything and it'll destroy them, right? And I guess he never misses. Those are all like kind of hints that Viltrumites are not so invincible as one would think. Yes, they're insanely strong, but you're not entirely invincible, right? Haha, hee hee, whatever. So, that's essentially it. I mean, the only like big other parts or subplots, right, is of course Mark's new relationship with Adam Eve. Of course, it makes so much sense. Both superheroes, both have, an understanding with each other, right? And even other people around them were like, yeah, it makes so much sense. Even Amber agreed, right? And even like other people like kind of picked up on it real quick, and in fact kind of even quicker than Eve and Mark themselves, right? But Mark always felt like, well, maybe it was just a crush, maybe it wasn't real, so he went out with Amber instead. And well, I mean, he enjoyed it, but their worlds were too different, so they broke up. And now, essentially, at this point, he realizes that these feelings are real and comes to terms with them, and was able to pretty much tell Eve that he feels that way, right? And Eve still is like, I don't know, but she in the end was willing to give it a try. And it looks like it is working so far, but I'm sure there'll be the drama phase, the rough patch, right? The hill, right? You're gonna go up the hill, and hopefully by some time they'll be going downhill from there in a good way. So, but that's happening, yes, as well. There's also other subplots like Debbie and her new boyfriend, even Rex and Shrinking Ray. I feel like there are hints of Shrinking Ray starting to sort of feel for Rex, and of course the start of Team Teen again, or Teen Team, and then Bulletproof is like, oh come on, man. Who knows? He might stick with them for a while. He may leave. I have a feeling that Bulletproof is gonna leave at some point. There's just something about him that I don't know. It's just I'm feeling it. I'm definitely feeling it. And then of course there's stuff with robots still. If you picked up on what he said, right, or has been saying, and what he's been doing, it seems like, yeah, he's got something on his mind. And especially with him saying, Invincible is the strongest superhero in the world, and I want him on my side. Because it's smart, it's logical. You want something like him to be on your side or be on his side, right? So there's kind of something going on with him, right? That he's planning, being that genius and all. Will he be with Monster Girl in that process? Who knows? And then we still have Doc Seismic. I think he still got away somehow. And then Any other subplots that I haven't really mentioned already? Oh yeah, there's that pretty. It's like that. There was literally like a 5 minute segment of like the two um villains that were like in a relationship. They're both dudes, by the way, of course. One of them was the tentacle guy. That I mean, he has it in a device. It's like weird. It's weird. Like I don't know if it's like something he met in somewhere in his adventure, or is he even human? You know. Um, and then there's the guy who can be lava or whatever. I think, right, or something like that. I forget his like powers. Um, kind of, because there's another guy who's also lava, but he uses a robot suit, right? But anyways, there was that long silent segment. It was like 5 minutes straight of that whole segment, right? It doesn't sound long, but when you like sit through it, it starts to feel long. You feel the 5 minutes, you know. But what was the overall like mating or lasting impact on it, right? Who knows? The immediate meaning, of course, is that, well, villains come from these hard times, right? They do what they gotta do to survive. And sometimes, well, again, break a few eggs to make that cake or that omelet, right? And in this case, when you want a good cake, what do you need, right? Because that vegan cake ain't gonna cut it. You're gonna want that delicious butter, and of course the richness of those eggs, right? But you have to break those in order to get to that potentially really good cake, right? Well, they have to rob that bank to get money, right? But it's not right, It's a crime, simply put. But how else? They're out of jobs. They've been fugitives, right? They can only do what they know what works. What they know what works. To their ability, right? They have their superpowers, right, as well. So that doesn't help. But we'll see how where that takes them, right? Because they're in jail, obviously. But I guess it's just to show that bad guys aren't also bad. They do crimes because that's their way of survival. That's what they know. That's all they know, right? Sometimes. And well, what's to make us feel about it, right? Are we supposed to be feeling guilty? Or just for the sake of knowing, right? But Mark doesn't know that, All he sees is just murderers. All he sees is robbers. Oh, they're criminals, right? Oh, this guy, the Multi-Paul, he almost killed Rex, right? Or whatever, right? I'm gonna take him to jail, right? I mean, yes, that is fair, but there comes a point where sometimes, yeah, you gotta put that foot down. Cecil, right? He's doing what it takes he's doing what he knows, right? Of how to achieve his goal. But Mark is like, no, we can't do that. But and yet, he's like giving room for his dad. He's willing to give him a chance to be able to make him forgive him. And there's the double standard, right? But yeah. Yes. I think that's pretty much it for all the major points. Yeah. So that's it for now for the spoiler dump / talk of Invincible Season 3, Episodes 1 through 4. If you have any more comments about the spoilers and stuff like that, any more conversations about Invincible Season 3, comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. More videos like this. Really appreciate it, guys. So, again, I can't really can't wait for the rest of the episodes. surely I'll enjoy them, hopefully. But hey, you never know. Thank you very much, and see you all in the next video. Sean out.